you know, you guys should be joining the Discord that we have and also the Top Hat questions. So how to join Top Hat, as we just talked about at the beginning of the session, just use these join codes. And when you go to tophat.com, just use the two join codes and you can skip the student ID part and phone number. And then in the university section for your university, when it asks that, you just use the University of Calgary for that part. For Discord, you just sign up into the private group channel. So for the breakout rooms, I believe there's like you check your email for the day of the week and your group number, and then you enter in this command. If you have questions about it, you can kind of more put it on the Discord if you guys are struggling with that. So today's session overview, we're going to be getting your notebook ready. We're going to review that portion. We're going to do setup versus draw, drawing shapes and printing text. And then we're going to be talking about Python variables and operators and the mouse X and mouse Y settings, like the numbers that you can put in, like keeping track of where your mouse is using these variables. So the basics. So first log in into Trinket.io. When you click this link right here, it's actually going to open up a page like this, if you guys can see. If you guys come up here, you guys can just go to new trinkets. Once you guys sign in, it'll have like a sign in portion. Once you guys sign in, you guys can click on new trinket. And if you just click on Python, it'll just open up a new file where you can work and run Python code. So you don't have to download Python onto your computer. So perfect. And then the next step is getting started with writing our code. So in the main file, in the main.py file, what we're going to be typing in is from processing import star. So what that kind of imports is we'll be using the processing library. So in Python, you have to import a wide variety of libraries. So for this first one right here, we will just say, you guys can just type in from uh, processing. So it's the import, and then star imports the whole library, right? Sorry, I spelled from wrong. That's a common issue. So from processing import library, here we're just going to be clicking run. And then, yeah, see, so there's no errors. Perfect. So now we've imported the processing library. Real quick, is there any questions? Sorry, I'm just going to double check. Okay. Okay, it worked for you guys. Okay, perfect. All right, let's go on. Tell me something. So print some words here. So in Python, you can use the print function to print words to the console. So here, let's just quickly practice that. So here, I want to print. Let's print my name. My name is Mahfouz. Okay, that's perfect. Let's run this. If you just click run up here, it'll run this. So this actually prints it to the console. The console is not really like a user interface necessarily. It's more of a, it's kind of like a user interface, but it's not. It's just completely based on text. So when you click print, it prints it to the console. So that's how that is done. And for comments, we can use the hashtag sign. So simple so far. Hashtag, and then we can write this is my name, right? So that kind of tells you what's going on in the code. Okay. So now let's talk about the setup function. The setup function runs once when the program is initially run. So we can use it to kind of set the program up, like anything that we need before like we really use or run the code. for example, like different parameters that we might need. We'll kind of talk about the different parameters we might need before the code or before we run the code a bit later. But yeah, the draw function executes the code over and over again in a loop until the program stops. In Python, one thing I'd like to note is spacing is quite important. So indentation is really important in Python. So because in other languages, if you guys have experience with other languages, you kind of sometimes you'll use brackets or you'll use like brackets and different things like that to kind of identify what's in certain areas. But in Python, you use spacing. So you kind of use the spacing. So here, a single tab is by default 2 spaces. So every time you create a function, you want to indent the thing that you want inside of that function 2 spaces or 1 tab. We'll be learning more about this later as well. So the run function at the end of your code runs the setup and draw functions, right? So, and it kind of visualizes your drawings. So run is just another simple function. And functions are, you can think of them as like groups of code necessarily just to start out with. Okay, so let's draw something. So let's use this rectangle X, Y, W, and H. So let's try that right now. So I'm going to bring this right here. Okay. RECT. Sorry, is something supposed to happen when you import library? No, nothing is supposed to happen when you import library just yet because we just imported the processing library. All I just wanted to show is that you're not getting any errors, right? So if you import something that doesn't actually exist, or if you import a library or you spell the library wrong, what will happen is you'll get an error. So I was just kind of showing that, hey, like we imported the library and it actually worked. Like, for example, like in the beginning, I actually spelled from wrong. So I spelled it FORM. So I kind of it wasn't working before. But yeah, nothing is supposed to happen yet when you import the processing library. No. Okay. So rect, let's use this function right here. Sorry. Rect, let's use this function right here. X, Y, W, H. So let's set the X coordinate to 100. Sorry, X coordinate to 100, the Y coordinate to 100. And let's make the width and height 100 as well. So this should be kind of like a square. That's kind of the expectation. So here, if I pull this right here, my name's Mahfouz. That's what we have in the console. And if we click this, oh, my bad. I actually messed up a little bit. You have to put these inside of the draw function. That was on me. So, and you have to kind of run the setup code first. We can't run the rectangle code just yet. So let's do the setup. So first, let's set up the size of our display. Okay. See dev setup. Okay. Okay. We'll go 800 then. 600 by 800. Okay, perfect. And then we will, this kind of sets up our display width for the program that we're going to run. Another shape you could use is ellipse, which is kind of like a circle. So quick question, what values of x, y, and d make a circle? So defined as ellipse, x, y, d, and d have a radius of 50. So make a circle. Okay, so a radius of 50 will make a circle for this ellipse function. If you set it to a radius of 50, 50 is like kind of the edge radius. And then also for the X and Y values, you can use the just kind of tells you where you're placing it on your display. And then the background function kind of tells, like, let's say you want to paint your rectangle or circle, it kind of helps to paint that. And then you use RGB values, or you can use grayscale, which is white. So changing the colors of a shape, to select options for to fill a shape is fill RGB. So RGB is red, green, and blue. Sorry, just yes. Yeah, you'd need a single tab when you use these functions because sorry, these commands because they're going to be inside of your setup inside of your setup or draw functions. So so changing the color of shape, you'd use fill RGB. So RGB is like red, green, and blue, and you can kind of get any color you'd like. And then similar to the background, we can also use grayscale. So this right here basically gives it a border of red border because we have red at 225. It fills it with green because we have a green in the green area for fill. Fills it with green. And the rectangle, as we know, so this is X, Y, and the width and the height. So this is at an X of 50, Y of 300, and then it has a width of 100 and a height of 50, I believe. So that is that. Okay. So how it works. So some tips to remember, background paints the entire window, including the foreground. Okay. And fill and stroke applies the color to everything we draw afterwards. It's like dipping your paintbrush in a certain color. So use background for the whole window and use fill and stroke for specific objects inside of the window. So, okay, let's get started with a bit of the programming side of things. So let's set up the code here. Let me just double check. Yeah. Okay. I'm just going to copy the code from here so I don't have to keep running it. Perfect. Okay. Draw. Okay. And then we'll use a fill. Sorry. What are the commands? We'll use a fill of 225. We'll fill it with green. Fill 0. And we will run it. Let's see if this works. Bad input on line 7. What is the issue? Hmm.
I believe it's your syntax. You're using C syntax with the curly braces. You need a colon over there.
Oh, yeah. Okay. Sorry, I always forget. Thank you. Thank you. Okay, yes. No brackets in Python. That is correct. I always forget that part. Because I usually end up coding in C, but okay. So let's try this. Okay, perfect. There we go. Now we actually have something on the screen. Okay, so as you guys can see, what we did right here in this code is actually we made a window size of 600 by 800, and we used the draw function to draw a rectangle that's actually a square, and we filled it in with green. And the run function right here, you need this. That basically runs your setup and draw functions. It runs setup once, and it runs the draw function continuously. So that's kind of how that works. Um, I'm sorry, does everyone kind of understand what I just did there, or is some people a bit confused? Everyone understands. Okay, Emmanuel, thank you. Perfect. Okay. So I would recommend you guys to try it as well. So this is kind of like super introductory. The link is okay. Kind of don't get it. Okay, sounds good. I will double check and kind of explain it. So Python, as you know, is kind of just a programming language. So these right here are called functions. Functions you can kind of think about as groups of code. Um, so this right here is a group of code, and this right here is a group of code. So when we import processing, it imports like a bunch of different like things that different groups of code. Like it imports a ton of other functions, right? That you have. And you can use those functions uh, to create different things. So in this case, we use the setup and draw function. So this run function right here runs this setup. It actually identifies the top corner. So the X and Y, for example, so this one's at 100, 100, right? So let's say I made another rectangle at 0, 0. I'll show you. And we run it right here. Sorry. What happened? Okay. Okay. We run it right here. As you can see, so this kind of identifies the top corner. The X and Y identifies the top corner of the square. When I run the script, I don't get a rectangle, but there isn't an error in the code. Okay, so I think what the issue might be is you haven't set it up. Like this setup function right here basically sets up the window that you guys can see. But yeah, it kind of sets up the window that you guys like the display window. So you guys need to run setup first and then draw, right? And then the run function basically runs the setup function once and then keeps drawing. Does that kind of make sense? Okay, that's good. Okay, awesome. All right, if you guys can probably try it in your breakout rooms and they'll be able to help you a little bit better because like it's a kind of a one-on-one thing, but that is kind of how that would work. So one of the exercises you guys can practice is kind of the drawing a picture of Calgary Tower or something like that.
So we will be going into breakout rooms for this exercise, so you can practice this with your mentors. I'll be opening the breakout rooms now. There are some people who haven't been assigned yet, so we will be putting you guys in groups as we go. And you should be able to join your rooms now. If you're just here, please give me 1 minute. If you already know which session or which breakout room you belong to, you should be able to choose that from the option. If not, stick around and I'll put you in the correct group. Okay, so for the people left in this group, one person is the mentor. I do not have a breakout room for you guys yet. I will be looking on how to put you guys in one. But for the other people, those who did not see their names in the sheet that I shared last time, um, did you guys all sign up for the Saturday session? Yep. Okay. So, for today, we'll just consider this main room to be our breakout session for right now. And Sad, if you could go ahead and just do however you would conduct your own breakout session because you are the mentor for this group right now.
Uh, I don't know if Saad was here. Saad, are you here? Okay.
Yeah, I'm here. Yeah.
Is Saad here?
Yep, I'm here.
Okay, good.
Hello.
Will you
Yeah.
be running the breakout session?
Um, yeah, I just came unprepared. Like I wasn't able to access the link at first. Let me try to set it up right.
Okay, so if you're not prepared, I can go ahead for this exercise. We only have two mentees, but did you guys have any trouble signing up for Top Hat or for Trinket or Discord? Like, are you guys signed up on all three accounts? Okay, that's good. Hi Janet, was there a problem? You're muted.
Sorry, I can't share my screen, so I'm trying to like show them.
Yes, give me 1 minute and I'll enable. You should
Okay,
be
no.
able to do it now.
All right, thank you so much.
No worries. Okay, so I will continue with the explanation for the exercise. Mm, Okay, here, I'm going to share my screen. So once you get onto Trinket, you can sign up. I believe everyone should have been done with this by now. Did anyone have any problems? Can I get a confirmation in the chat? But to start off with the exercise, we go with Python, not Python 3, as we talked about last time. Sorry. And then our exercise asks for us to draw the Calgary Tower. So can anyone tell me what would be the first step in doing so? Any ideas in the chat? Setup? Perfect. Yes. So what we do is we go onto our Trinket, and the first thing we do is set up our two functions. So that would be our draw function and our setup function. Yes. Before we do that, we write the from processing import star. So we're importing everything from that library. This is needed for all of it, like we were told about in the session. Then we start with defining our setup and draw. So we go setup, that's our setup function, and then we go define draw. So now that we have both our functions, we will be actually drawing our background, which is like sorry, I'm so scattered right now. Can anyone tell me how we would enter a background into this code? How we would create a background, like the blue background that we saw in the exercise itself? Any ideas? Also, guys, this is like a smaller room, so please feel free to put your ideas into the chat or turn on your microphone. And if you see the mentors doing anything wrong, this is your time to correct them as well, because mentors are humans as well, and they don't know the correct answer immediately either. But for this case, first we set up our screen, so we go size. Let's go with 300 and 400, just because. The size depends on how big you want it to be. There's no set definition to it. There's no right or wrong. For background, we just use the function background. Oh, wrong spellings. And the color of the background needs to be a light blue, like we saw in the slides. There's websites that I will later put into the chat where you can check out the codes, like the RGB values for specific colors. But in this case, since we need like a bluish background, I'll go with the code that I already know for it. So this, oh, oops, forgot the brackets. Syntax error, bad input on line 9. Oh, yes, we did not run our function, so we need the run function to actually run our code. Oops, does anyone know what's wrong with this code here? Any ideas?
Seems
Can
alright to
anyone,
me.
can everyone hear me?
Yeah, you're good. You're good.
Okay, because I'm getting no answers from the mentees, so would anyone like to try to guess what we would put here?
Seems alright to me though.
Okay, let's continue with the code and then we'll debug this together later. But to continue, we actually don't need a draw function in this case because we're not doing anything that should be recurring. If we put everything into setup, it should work completely fine since it's only like a background image that we're creating, nothing's moving at all. So let's continue over here. Let's go with fill 100 for fight, I believe, is 100, and then stroke, we can use a stroke, and then we use the rect function to draw a rectangle. In this case, let's go with 100, 350, 100, and 50. Next, we would need another rectangle to complete our Calgary Tower, so let's go with no stroke. And then rectangle, 125, 150, 50, and 200. Can anyone explain what I'm writing over here? Do you guys know what I'm doing right now? Mentors, lecture lead, please feel free to take over and we can have a conversation. I feel like that would be a bit more interesting than me just talking and doing it.
Yeah, for sure.
So we
So
got an answer that says the size of the rectangle and its position on the screen. That's completely correct. That's exactly what we're doing. Can you tell me where the first rectangle will be drawn? No ideas?
I think it'll be drawn near the middle of the screen.
Yes, I think you're correct. Let me take this out. Let me try running this now. We should be able to see our rectangles drawn and our background. I believe the issue with that was since there was nothing in the draw function, it was just creating an error. But right now you can see that with the background line, we were able to create a light blue, pale blue background. For the first rectangle, you can see from the stroke that it's the bottom rectangle, like the one that's lying horizontally at the very bottom. And we have its X and Y coordinates and its width and height. Similarly, for the second one, we have a longer vertical standing rectangle right on top of it. And we can continue with this to make the red rectangle on top and then the little antenna part on it. I'm not going to give you guys the answers for it right now. I want you guys to try it on your own. And then if you guys end up running into any issues, let us know and we'll help you debug it. Any other questions regarding this? Okay, I'm assuming everybody understood that. Any other questions from the people in this main room? Okay, if not, I think that should have been enough time to get through the exercise. What do you think, lecture lead? Do you think we should call everyone back now and continue?
Yeah, I think that's a fair amount of time, and yeah, I think we can continue.
So they will be back in 60 seconds.
Awesome, guys. Is everyone back? It looks like everyone's back right now. Okay, so we're gonna continue with the lesson. Did everyone kind of understand what happened with the last one? Nothing crazy. Okay, sounds good. Sounds good. Let's continue on with the presentation. Um, okay. How do I minimize this? Okay, perfect. All right, so this was the exercise. So let's now talk about variables. So what are variables? Variables have a name. It's what you're calling it. So for example, you can store stuff inside of variables. You can store things like integers, strings, pretty much any information and values. Variables can also be used to store pretty much anything you can think of, right? So in this case, we're calling this variable age, and we are storing a value of 23 inside of it. So what happens is later on in our code, if we ever call this word age, then what will actually happen is it'll be replaced by this number of 22. So it's actually 23. Right now, it might not seem that useful, but it's actually really it's really useful. So the value has a type. There's a couple different types in Python. This one specifically would be probably an integer. But honestly, types are not really that important in Python, but having a basic understanding of it is. So types integers. Integers are basically positive and negative numbers, but they do not have decimals, right? So things like -2, -98, 0, 101, 5, 49, anything, all the way up to 1 million, 2 million. They're all integers as long as they don't have decimals. Floats are numbers, but they have decimals inside of them. So this includes both positive and negative numbers with decimals. So for example, -4.06 is a float, -10 is a float, 1.234 is a float, 40.512735 is a float. There's a lot of different options. And floats, any number with any number of values after decimal place is a float. And a string is basically words, or like a string, a string of words. So it's letters or numbers, right? So you put them inside of quotation marks. Like in the other ones, as you saw, when you do a float or a number, you don't have to actually put quotation marks. But inside of a string, you can either put double or single quotes. We'll be using double quotes throughout this course because they just make more sense and kind of help with identifying what is a string. So examples like Ignite, UFC, and 4th Street, those are all strings. Creating a variable assigns a value to a name. Using the name of a variable accesses the value of that variable. For example, let's say I have a variable called height, which is equal to 10. If I printed height, then what would actually end up happening is I'd print 10. Quick question. What type of values are we assigning to today? Yes, it is correct. It's a float. That's awesome. That's awesome. Okay.
Well,
That's
are we so sure about that? I see double quotes on the number.
32 minutes. 32 minutes. 32 minutes?
okay. Okay, yeah, it is a quote. I heard somebody says double quotes on the number. Yeah, it does have double sorry. You're right. My bad. It has
That's
double
a string.
quotes on the number, which means it's actually a string. So everyone who said float was unfortunately wrong. Yeah, it's a string. That was on me. So this is actually a string right here. Okay, awesome. So exercise 2, using variables. Okay, so we're gonna break out into the breakout rooms, and we are gonna discuss discuss this exercise and kind of how to do it. Awesome. Is that good?
Okay, you guys should have seen a prompt to enter your breakout rooms. Harriet, I believe you should have seen a prompt to enter breakout room 6 since that's your group. Are you here? Okay, maybe not. Sad, would you like to take over and maybe try the question for your mentees this time around, or would you want me to do it?
I can try though. I mean,
For sure, go ahead.
let's see.
Yeah, lecture lead, if you could like stop sharing your screen so that Sad can have
Yeah,
control over that.
exactly what I am trying. 1 second. Sorry. Oh, stop share. There it is. Okay. There we go.
Okay. You should have the
All
access
right.
to share your screen now.
So, is my screen visible?
Yeah, it is.
Right. So, I'll just copy this, I guess. So this goes in here, right? Wait. Try running it. This is my first time doing it. Okay, so I need a bigger screen.
I think the reason for your screen being smaller is simply because your actual laptop screen cannot accommodate for that much space. So if you scroll, oh yeah, I think you do need a bigger screen for that since your snowman cut off. But yeah.
Yeah, that works. So, I think, yeah, so we've tried to define ellipses here, right? With the x, y coordinates. And then we define the x and y's. That's how we got the ellipse.
Yep, so to move all of these 50 pixels right and 50 pixels down, we would have to go to the parameter that has our x and y coordinates for all of our ellipses and change those. So in case of the first 3 ellipses for our first snowman, Sad, would you like to change those to move the ellipses 50 pixels to the right?
Okay, so I have to move the 50 pixels to the right. So I add 50 to x, isn't it?
Yeah. And if you do that and run the code, you should be able to see that all of the ellipses move to the right. And as you see, that happened. And we'll do the exact same to move it down. So since our 0, 0 is at the top left corner of our screen, if we just add 50 to x the way we did, and then 50 to move it down for the y, all of our ellipses will
y.
move down. Now you'll
That
want
makes
to notice
sense.
over here, the main difference is that in the case of the first 3 ellipses, you've had to go in and manually change all 3 ellipses. Whereas for the second one, you could simply add 50 to x and 50 to y, and all of our ellipses will move at the same time without, like, it would be less tiring and less tedious.
Yep. So you can just add 50 here, 50 here, and wait, 50 here. So I think, okay, yeah, they've gone down. So, does anyone have any questions for this? Or is it so far so good? It's
Okay,
good. All
perfect.
right.
You
Yeah.
guys should try this out on your own, and if you have any questions, we'll be here. Okay, I believe that should have been enough time for everyone to do the exercise. What do you think?
Yep, we can continue
Yeah,
on with the
I
lesson.
think so.
Okay, so I'll close the breakout rooms.
Okay, awesome. Is everyone back? Or
No, I believe we're still waiting.
oh, we're still waiting. Okay. Oh, 3 seconds. I see. Okay, guys, welcome back. We're just gonna continue on with the lesson. Hopefully you guys were able to learn a little bit from the um the breakout session. So let's go on with operators. Sorry, let's go on with operators. So what are operators? It's not a phone operator. So operators are actually like math symbols. So there's the plus operator, there's the minus operator, the asterisk operator, which represents multiplication, the division operator and the modulus operator. So if you guys are in high school, you guys obviously would know how addition and subtraction and multiplication and division work. Some of you may not know what the modulus operator is, but we will be talking about that shortly. Actually, I'll talk about it right now. So the modulus operator actually gives you a remainder. So let's say 5 divided, like it's the remainder of a division. So for example, 5 divided by 2 is 2.5. So really it's 2 and then there's 1 left over. So the modulus operator would return 1. Okay. So quick question number 3. How can we define parameters x and y so that the circle defined with ellipse x, y, d, and d will stay at the top left of corner of the screen for any diameter d? Okay. How far does the circle center need to be from the edges? Does anyone know the answer to this question? Okay, so to tell you the truth, yeah, so D is the diameter. So exactly, it will need to be a radius distance away from the edge of the edge. It needs to be a radius distance away from the edge of the circle, since x and y is basically the center of the circle. Exactly. Okay, awesome. Okay, let's move on. All right, special variables. So special variables like mouse x and mouse y access the position of mouse's x and y coordinates, right? So for example, I'm not sure if you guys can see my mouse, but if you take your mouse to the top left-hand corner of the screen, it would have a x and y of 0, 0. And then as you move it down, it would have an x and y of like 1,000, 1,000, something like that, right? So it'd keep getting bigger as you move it to the right bottom corner. Okay, awesome. So right now we're gonna quickly create a small little thing, a small little piece of code, where a square will basically follow your mouse around. So let's quickly do that. So here I have a rectangle. I have 2 green rectangles. Here, let's actually replace this mouse x with mouse x. Mouse x. And this one. Okay, awesome. All right, so we're just gonna stop running this, stop running the old code. We're gonna rerun it.
I believe you're still on the presentation slides. We cannot see your Trinket screen.
Oh, okay. Awesome. All right, I think I set it up wrong. I'm gonna set it up like that, desktop. Okay. Now can you guys see my Trinket screen?
Still
No.
cannot. I believe you should stop sharing your screen first and then go to. Oh, okay, we can see it now.
Okay, we can.
Oh, okay. Awesome. Awesome. All right. Okay, that was weird. I wish somebody would have told that earlier. Okay. I think my Zoom might be broken. Oh, okay. All right, there we go. Okay, awesome. All right, guys. Let's stop this and rerun it. Okay, so right now we have these 2 things right here, right? When I run this piece of code, it actually does this right here. So basically it keeps creating a square that basically follows around with mouse X and mouse Y if I use this piece of code right here. But instead, what we actually want to do is we want to just have one box, right? So let's actually remove the other rectangle. We have the size, background. Yeah. Let's put the fill first and see if that works. Up top. Oh, sorry. Okay, no, we're still running into the same issue. Background 230. Let's try that. Okay, so the issue was we didn't set up our background properly. Now that we set up our background, basically, as you can see, the rectangle follows where my mouse is, right? So when it's at 0, 0 right here, it's at 0, 0. And then when it's down here at like 3, when it's at like 500 around here, it's also at 500. So that kind of is how that works. Okay, awesome. We figured that out. So just make sure to be including this background thing right here, or else you'll end up into the same problem that I had, where basically when you run it, it doesn't refresh and it keeps the rectangle there, which is kind of cool, I think. If you had like multiple different colors, you can maybe do like a painting or something. But anyway, yeah. So that's why you guys don't want to, you make sure to include the background. Okay. All right, let's move on. All right, if you guys would like to share your code, you guys can come here, click share, and then if you guys click on share, stop this. If you guys click on share, it's not working, but I think that might be a website issue. Let's try saving it first, and then sharing it. Okay. It's not working, but if you guys want to share your code, you guys can just copy it, like with copy, and then save the code. That okay. Oh, actually, this creates a copy, creates another copy. Just copy. You guys can copy and paste the code, and if you guys would like to share it for now. Okay, so these are a couple of different exercises that you guys could maybe try. One's like bug busters. So in this one, what actually happens is you're changing the RGB values using mouse X and Y. And in this one, it's very similar to what we just had, but you're controlling a wide variety of different squares, like 4 different squares. So I could kind of recommend you guys to try these two.
These will be your homework assignments, and you can earn 50 Schulich Ignite points for this if you are keeping up with the leaderboards and want an award at the end of the term. And these would be really good to help practice what we learned in this session as well.
Awesome. Yeah, you guys should definitely try these. These are pretty cool. As I said, I gave some hints on the ones that we just did right here, like the RGB values and stuff like that. And then for this one, this is actually very similar to the one that the issue that I ran into. So you guys could maybe try that out as well. And then, yeah, and then same with this one right here. This one is pretty simple as well. Awesome. Okay, so for submitting exercises, like I said, the share functionality on Trinket is actually not working. So what I'd recommend you guys do is basically just copy and paste the code in. I think that's the best way to do it.
Aside from that, I believe if you copy the URL of the Trinket page you're in, you can just copy paste that link into the Google form the links that he was showing you earlier in the slides. Those links are Google Forms, and these are available on the Schulich Ignite website, and also you can copy them from here.
Awesome. Yeah. So you guys just can keep a note of these from the Schulich Ignite website, as she said. And awesome. So that's the end of today's session. Sorry guys if Trinket and we have the presentation session? Yeah, I believe you guys should I think you guys should have the presentation session. There are recordings on the website, but Meg, could you mind?
Yes, so for the recordings of these sessions, These will be posted on the Schulich Ignite YouTube account, so you can see the recordings over there. For the slides, if you visit the Schulich Ignite website, they will be posted as we go through the session. So session 0 slides should be up on the Schulich Ignite websites. Are there any other questions?
Yeah, the slides will be posted. Awesome. Okay. I completely apologize today if the lesson was not that good. I definitely will improve on the next one, hopefully. And if you guys have any questions, just make sure to put it on the Discord and you guys can get them answered. So hopefully the next lesson I'll be a bit more prepared. I just had a midterm today, so I didn't get too much time to learn. I plan ahead beforehand. My apologies. And yeah, thank you guys so much for coming to the presentation session. The exercises are for homework, actually. Yeah, so like I said, so if you guys create these four programs, you guys can submit it into the Dropbox. So these two are actually not for homework right here. These are just for fun. But this one you can submit into the Bug Busters Google Docs and Google Doc link, and this one into the Philanthropic Lava Google Drop link. Does that kind of make sense? Sorry. Okay, awesome. All right. Yeah, so that's pretty much it, guys. Yeah, thank you guys so much for coming.